Foreign Affairs and International Development. Pursuant to Section 108, subsection 2, and the motion adopted by the committee on Thursday, February 12, 2026, the committee is resuming its study of the security situation in the Balkans. Today's meeting is taking place in a hybrid format pursuant to the standing orders. I would like to now welcome our witness for the first hour from the Embassy of the Republic of Kosovo, His Excellency.
Just a point of order.
Yes.
Just given the time and the fact that we only have one witness here, could we would it be okay with you and the witness if we just went to 4:30 with one witness, and so we could have longer time with multiple witnesses? If he wanted a full hour, that'd be fine.
In fact, the ambassador has told me that he would prefer a shorter time period than one. He doesn't want to do an hour, so we will aim for about 40 minutes.
We'd love to have him for an hour,
but that's not his wish. So, His Excellency Adriatic Krezilu, Ambassador of the Republic of Kosovo to Canada. Up to 5 minutes will be given for opening remarks, after which we will proceed with rounds of questions from members. But I understand you will go a little bit over 5 minutes, and we will indulge you, knowing that you're giving up some of your time for the later period. So I now invite His Excellency Adriatic to make his opening statement.
Juste un petit point d'ordre, Monsieur le Président. C'est quoi la...
Point of order, Chair. What is the committee's policy on votes? How much time do we have to return back to the committee after a vote? I'd just like to know what your policy is, because my impression is that I came out of the House, I got here, and we started, and it was about 5 minutes between the end of the vote and the start of our work here. I'm just wondering, normally, how much time do you provide for people to get here?
Enough members to form quorum before we start. And we couldn't really start without your presence, so I waited for you to arrive, and then we started.
Pour les comités sur lesquels j'ai participé, normalement, on donne...
In the committees that I participate in, usually we give at least 10 minutes, given the time it takes to get here, at least 10 minutes between the end of the vote, because we need to get our things and arrive here. So just something to be aware of.
Your Excellency, please proceed.
Hello, everyone. The Honorable Ahmed Hussein, Chair of the Standing Committee on Foreign Affairs and International Development, the Honorable Member of the Committee, thank you very much for having me here and for taking the time. It's a good opportunity to address today on the security situation in Western Balkans, and particularly on the developments that directly or indirectly affects the Republic of Kosovo and our people. I would like to begin by expressing Kosovo's deep appreciation for its long-standing partnership with Canada and Canada's continued support for peace, democracy, human rights, and the Euro-Atlantic future for Kosovo and the wider for the region. We also highly value Canada's outstanding support for Kosovo's membership into the international organizations, as well as its broader efforts to advance international recognition for Kosovo. Mr. Chairman, Kosovo remains firmly committed to peace, democracy, regional cooperation, and Euro-Atlantic integration. Since declaring our independence in 2008, we have built a strong democratic institution, strengthened the rule of law, combated corruption and other negative phenomena, despite operating in a historically fragile security environment in the region. Today, the security situation in Western Balkans is generally stable. However, it remains fragile due to Serbia's hostile attitude towards Kosovo. The region, and Kosovo in particular, continues to face pressure stemming from Serbia's refusal to recognize Kosovo's independence, its ongoing efforts for parallel and illegal structures that seeks to undermine the sovereignty and the constitutional order of the Republic of Kosovo, as well as its territorial ambitions toward neighboring states in the region. The most serious security incidents in the recent years occurred in September 2023 in Banska, northern of Kosovo, when an organized and heavily armed paramilitary terrorist group launched an attack against Kosovo's territory and its border police, resuming in the death of Sergeant Afrim Bunyako. Kosovo police successfully repelled the group and forced them back into the Serbian territory. During the operation, Kosovo authorities seized a sustainable military-grade weapons, explosions, and other equipment valued of several $1 million, confirming that this was a highly serious, well-planned attack carried out with a significant logistic support and linked to the individuals closely associated with the Serbian leadership, led by President of Serbia, Aleksandar Vučić. This incident underscored the fact that security risks in the region remain real and that the accountability is essential for long-term stability. Kosovo continues to insist that the perpetrators of this terrorist attack could be brought to the justice. This call for the surrender and the perpetrators was also raised recently by the distinguished Canadian diplomat and senior NATO officials, Ambassador Kevin Hamilton, during his official visit to Pristina last month. Now your ambassador is Deputy Assistant Secretary General for Partnership of the Northern Atlantic Alliance, Kevin Hamilton. So publicly he made clear that Serbia is responsible for what really happened in the northern of Kosovo in September 2023. We also take this opportunity, and we have been calling upon Canada to increase its diplomatic engagements and urge Serbia to extradite to Kosovo the perpetrators of this unprecedented terrorist attack in the northern of Kosovo. Whereas we work closely with international partners, including NATO and KFOR, to maintain peace and stability and prevent escalation. We really remain focused on maintaining the criminal networks and organized gangs, strengthening the rule of law, and guaranteeing security and equal treatment for all citizens, including members of the Serbian community. These actions are law enforcement measures and should not be viewed as policies directly against any ethnic groups. Kosovo's constitutional framework and the legal system provides extensive protections for all communities in Kosovo. While the rights of minority communities in Kosovo are protected according to the highest democratic standards, the situation of ethnic Albanians living in the northern of Serbia in Preševa Valley remains a matter of serious concerns with the respect of human rights, equal citizenship, and compliance with European standards for the protection of national minorities. One of the most serious concerns related to the practice commonly referred to as an address deactivation, through which thousands of ethnic Albanians are alleged to have been removed from civil registers, thereby losing or facing significant obstacles in accessing personal documentation, voting rights, and other public services. Serbia continuously calls for the highest standards regarding the rights of Serbs in Kosovo, while failing to provide by no means at a comparable level of protection and rights to Albanians living in Preševa Valley. For this reason, the government of Kosovo has consistently advocated for the inclusion of the rights and concerns of Albanians in Preševa within the Kosovo-Serbia dialogue process, and has called for the closer monitoring by the international community, including here Canada. Mr. Chairman, the broader geopolitical context cannot be ignored. Russia's aggression against Ukraine has demonstrated how regional tensions can be exploited by external actors seeking to undermine democratic societies. The Balkans and Kosovo are not immune to these pressures. Kosovo remains fully aligned with the Euro-Atlantic foreign and security policies, including sanctions against Russian Federation, and remains committed to contributing to both regional and international stability. Kosovo's strategic direction is clear: membership to NATO, integration into the European Union, strong partnership with democratic allies, and respect for international law. Kosovo's vision is that of a peaceful region founded on sovereign equality, mutual respect, and good neighborly relations. We remain fully committed to the European Union facilitated dialogue with Serbia, emphasizing that the normalization must be based on the implementation of existing agreements we have reached with Serbia on the mutual recognition as a foundation of lasting peace and long-term regional stability. Mr. Chairman, the Western Balkans also faced broader external influences that affect regional stability. Serbia, fully aligned with the Russian Federation, continues to exert a destabilizing influence through disinformation campaigning, political pressure, and efforts to deepen divisions both within and among states in the region. Besides Kosovo, these activities are also so evident in Bosnia and Herzegovina, Montenegro, and North Macedonia, where institutional stability and the European Atlantic orientation of these countries must be safeguarded. At the same time, China's economic engagement and growing presence in the Western Balkans should be viewed within the broader geo-economics context, where economic development, strategic competition, and the political orientation of this region intersect. We believe that all external partnerships should strengthen rather than weaken the Euro-Atlantic integration and orientation of our region. In this context, Kosovo's position is consistent. The future of the Western Balkans lies in full and as a rapid as possible integration into the NATO and the European Union. Despite the fact that all countries of the region are part of Belt and Road Initiative, the Republic of Kosovo did not join the BRA and has followed carefully relations with China. In this regard, Kosovo has been consulted with its EU partners and Euro-Atlantic partners. Mr. Chairman, Kosovo is not merely a beneficiary of security. It is also a contributor to it. We are developing professional, democratic, and multi-ethnic security institutions that work closely with NATO member states and partners. Through concrete programs, agreements, and cooperation initiatives, we are pleased to be advancing this partnership with Canada as well. Kosovo firmly believes that NATO enlargement has historically been one of the most effective instruments for securing peace and stability in the Western Balkans and in Europe. Kosovo's membership in NATO would strengthen regional deterrence, reduce security vulnerabilities, and further consolidate stability throughout the Western Balkans. We are fully aware that NATO membership requires consensus among allies and sustained commitment to reform. Accordingly, Kosovo remains dedicated to meeting all necessary standards, obligations, and responsibilities associated with the membership. Canada's role is particularly important in this regard, and therefore, we encourage Canada to continue supporting Kosovo's path toward NATO membership at the earliest possible opportunity. We strongly believe that now it's high time to move on with the admission of Kosovo as a fully fledged member of NATO. NATO is in a DNA of Kosovo and its Kosovo security forces. It would be a natural process for Kosovo to have the seat among other allies, contributing with all capacities and efforts. Such support is essential not only for Kosovo's integration into the international community, but also for addressing shared global challenges. Kosovo in NATO means more peace, more security, and more stability in the region. Thank you for your attention, and would be pleased to answer any question you might have.
Thank you very much for your statement, Your Excellency. We now go to questions from members, beginning with MP Michael Chong. You have 6 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Ambassador, for appearing in front of us today. One witness in front of our committee in a previous meeting argued that Kosovo's accession to the European Union should not be tied to the normalization of relations with Serbia, because doing so does not produce stability and instead leaves Kosovo's future dependent on the cooperation of the Serbian government. Do you agree with that assessment? Why or why not?
I would not agree with that. Kosovo has been doing everything in its power to find a way to live in peace with Serbia in the region. And our commitments have been started since 2011, when Kosovo has participated constructively in the EU-facilitated dialogue with Serbia in Brussels. Over the process of dialogue, of negotiation, we have reached a couple of agreements with Serbia, but the problem is not in our side. The problem is in the Serbian side.
So that wasn't exactly, let me re-ask the question.
Yeah.
As it currently stands, the European Union has made it clear that one of the critical milestones on the path for Kosovo into the European Union is that relations between Serbia and Kosovo be normalized. A witness we had in front of our committee a week ago suggested that that milestone be removed as a requirement by the European Union. In other words, that normalization of relations between Kosovo and Serbia not necessarily be a precondition for Kosovo to be admitted to the European Union. And so my question is whether or not you agree with that position.
As far as I can see, the process is very much related to the dialogue between Kosovo and Serbia. And we would be happy to see that process, that we can skip somehow the Serbia in a process of Kosovo's joining the European Union. But I think it's a process that is very much linked to the dialogue between Kosovo and Serbia. This is not just for Kosovo, but also for Serbia. If Kosovo and Serbia would like to join the European Union, I think we have to succeed first and foremost in the process of dialogue.
Okay.
But I would like to go back to the failure of the implementation of the agreement we have reached between Kosovo and Serbia. And the most important thing, the last agreement that we have reached in Ohrid agreement a couple of years ago, that Serbia continues to fall short in fulfilling the obligations under the agreement of the path to normalize the relation between Kosovo and Serbia. So signals have emerged from Serbia that authorities regarding their commitments to agreement, including a letter of the Serbian Prime Minister. You know, they agreed with the terms and condition with the Ohrid agreement, but right after that agreement, they sent back a letter to the European Union, distancing itself from the key elements of the agreements.
Okay.
So as far as I can see, this process is very much engaged, with the EU paths for Kosovo and Serbia.
Okay. Thank
It
you.
would be easier for Kosovo, to somehow escape. But as far as I can see, we have to deal first with each other.
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate that answer. Second question, you referenced toward the end of your opening remarks the People's Republic of China. Can you tell us what the relationship is like between Kosovo and the PRC?
Well, China's influence in the region is becoming every day more active as never before. Kosovos believe that all external partners should strengthen rather than weaken the Euro-Atlantic orientations of the region. In this context, Kosovo's position is consistent. The future of Western Balkans lies in a full as a rapid of possible integration into the NATO and European Union. Despite, as I said, the fact that the countries in the region are part of the Belt and Road Initiative, Kosovo did not join that initiative. And I don't know how much you are aware of this initiative. The Belt and Road Initiative is a global infrastructure economic development strategy launched by China in 2013 to enhance trade connectivity and investment across Asia, Europe, and Africa and beyond. So this is why Kosovo has been very cautious in this regard to join that initiative. As far as we can see, so far China is trying through the economy and trade to have impact in our region.
Thank you very much. We go next to MP Abdelhak Sari. You have 6 minutes.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. Merci beaucoup, Monsieur l'Ambassadeur.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. I'd like to thank you, and I'd also like to welcome you. I'd like to say that in our community, we are closely following the situation in the Western Balkans. Generally speaking, its stability has direct repercussions on the global order. And this is a rules-based order which Canada is actively defending.
Notre comité,
So my first question, our committee takes a look at Canada's contributions in peacekeeping missions and international stabilization missions, given the tensions in this region and given the role of our country in the area, what kind of presence or commitment by the Canadian government, whether it's military, diplomatic, or capacity strengthening, would have a direct impact, in your opinion, concretely speaking, and a long-term one, on the stability of the Western Balkans?
Thank you for the question. As a small country with a great potential, we are proud of the consolidated partnership we have built between Kosovo and Canada. We are proud of sharing the same fundamental values of democracy, human rights, diversity, and inclusions. Canada has been one of the first countries to open the doors and the hearts for Kosovo refugee shelter in 1999. So more than 7,000 refugees came from Kosovo to Canada, and they came to find a hope, but also they find a home. So Canada has been doing pretty much for Kosovo over the years. Recently, we have been working very hard in regards of strengthening relation in defense and security. 2 years ago, Kosovo joined the MTCP program, Military Training Cooperation Program. So today we have our cadets in Canada that have been training, for months. Canada has also his presence in Kosovo as part of the programs and the agreements we have reached in the last couple of years. But as well as Canada has its presence in Kosovo as part of the KFOR, as part of NATO. It's a very small mission. There are a couple of soldiers, 6 soldiers, and a defense attaché, but Canada officially has its own mission in Kosovo as part of the NATO.
sur un autre ordre, je vais y arriver là quand même. Sur un autre ordre d'idée, j'aimerais bien.
Let's switch gears a little bit. I would like for us to talk about foreign interference and of your resilience as a new young democratic country. This committee pays much attention to the threat played by foreign interference for democracies that are partners of Canada. Kosovo is in a region where many foreign actors are attempting to extend their influence. Which forms of interference facing Kosovo today are the most threatening, and how can Canada contribute to reinforcing the resilience of your democratic institution through the tools at its disposal?
Canada, as of today, has invested about $160 million in Kosovo, and they have been doing also with other programs when it comes to women, peace and security programs for women's, supporting the women's as part of the Kosovo security forces. We are also working very closely with Halifax International Security Forum, and very soon we are going to join a few more programs this November in Halifax as part of our collaboration. In regards to interference, so our direct threat in Kosovo is Serbia. So Serbia is no longer secret, is the only country in the region that did not impose any sanction against the Russian Federation, something that Kosovo has done since the beginning as one of the first country in the region that imposed sanction against the Russian Federation. Russian and Serbs have been coordinating, the coordinating efforts and commitments to destabilize Kosovo and the region. They targeted northern Kosovo.
Which kind of forms that's taken this influence?
Media is doing pretty lots of causing lots of problems in Kosovo recently, but also the people that are undercovered. I don't know if you are aware, but in Serbia, in the second or third largest city called Niš, there is a humanitarian center called Humanitarian Center, which is a center of undercover people that they do everything, and in daily basis they try to jeopardize everything that Canada and other partners they have invested in Kosovo to orchestrate another conflict zone. So they targeted northern of Kosovo. That's why in 2023 we had that unpleasant situation in Banska.
I want just to say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We go next to Monsieur Duceppe. Vous avez 6 minutes.
You have 6 minutes.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Monsieur l'Ambassadeur,
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
bienvenue au comité.
It's a pleasure to see you once again, Mr. Ambassador. In April 2024, the Council of Europe Parliamentary Assembly voted with
Une recommandation visant
131 votes for a recommendation to invite Kosovo to become a member of the organization, but the Council of Europe ministers did not follow up on this recommendation. So how can we positively view the possibility of Kosovo one day becoming part of the Council of Europe?
I am thankful and grateful to Canada's team in the Council of Europe. You are not member of Council of Europe, but you have a status as an associate member, as an observer country. And thanks to you also, Kosovo has been doing quite a lot in regards to join the Council of Europe. But as I mentioned, the dialogue between Kosovo and Serbia, it's essential that we have to find a way in order to open other chapters, and also it affects directly the Council of Europe. And more or less at that time, Banska happened in Kosovo in 2023, and somehow the dialogue did not, go well for a couple of years, and also the geopolitics and geostrategy changed in our region, and we were somehow cautious how to deal with the Serbia, and we were more dealing and coordinating our efforts and our commitment with the EU and NATO partners in order to keep Serbia under control, and other Russians that have been working and present in Serbia and trying to start something in our region, and in particular in Kosovo, but also in Bosnia and Herzegovina.
Qu'est-ce que, juste pour le bénéfice du comité, qu'est-ce que ça voudrait dire pour le Kosovo de faire partie du Conseil de l'Europe?
What would it mean concretely for you for Kosovo to be part of the Council of Europe? What importance does it have for your country?
If I may, because I didn't hear well.
What does it mean for you concretely for Kosovo to be part of the Council of Europe?
Quel
I
important
didn't hear the question. What importance? What is the importance of European integration and membership in the Council of Europe for Kosovo? What positive consequences would you expect? Can you explain the difference it would make?
aussi au niveau carrément politique.
in the lives of Kosovars, but also at the political level for future governments, for current and future governments.
It might help our efforts to join European Union in the shorter way. It also might help us to be more closer to Europe and Europe to understand better what Kosovo has done for the Serbian community, another community who lives in Kosovo. And also it might help to have Kosovo the status of candidate status to join the European Union. This is a kind of requirement. You first have to be somehow member of Council of Europe in order to be able to have that status and to perform better and to upgrade your status within the NATO, within the European Union pass for Kosovo.
Puis, vous l'avez dit, le Canada a quand même eu une certaine influence. En tout cas,
Canada has had a certain influence. Clearly, Canada recognized Kosovo in 2008. Important ties have been created between Canada and Kosovo after this recognition.
c'est Québécois qui vous le dit, là.
I say this as a Quebec sovereignist.
Présentation.
I think Canada has really made an honest effort in favor of Kosovo. Now, do you think that this Canadian influence, we've talked about Russia and China,
sans du tout mettre la
do
faute
you feel, without
différents gouvernements canadiens,
blaming different Canadian governments, do you feel that like this influence is going down relative to other powers that are taking up more and more space and more influence relative to what's going on in Kosovo currently? And what do you think this will look like in the future of Kosovo?
We are honored and thankful to have Canada as one of the first country to recognize Kosovo as an independent country. But also we are honored to say that for me as ambassador, for being here for 6 years, I've been able to work very closely with the provincial government of Quebec. So, and I'm honored to say today that our cadets are in Saint Jean military academy that have been training for months. So the relation between Kosovo and Canada are so special, including here the relation with the Quebec. And also we are proud to have a small diaspora in Quebec, but a well-integrated diaspora, and a diaspora that makes a contribution to Canadian economy and the Canadian diversity. So this is from my perspective, and I'm not, in a position to say more in this kind of relation. But
non, je comprends tout à fait et je suis content parce que le Canada est bon pour
I totally understand. And
du Québec.
Canada is good to recognize.
Starting the next round with Monsieur Abul Taif. For the interests of time, we will do 4 minutes each, except Monsieur Duceppe, of course. So
thank you, Chair.
Go ahead.
Your Excellency, welcome to the committee, and thanks for appearing today. Kosovo have ambitions to enter EU and NATO, two different things, two big goals, and congratulations of being on this mission to do so. What do you think the main difficulties that you have in order to fulfill those dreams? What is the main difficulties? What's standing in your way to become a member of EU and NATO?
when it comes to the EU, the dialogue between Kosovo and Serbia is becoming somehow a headache for us to join EU as we want to join, because we have been working so hard for years and we fulfill lots of criteria, but the dialogue it's one of the big issue that we are having. In regards of NATO, I think, having seen the geopolitics and geostrategy, that's why I'm calling and asking from Canadians, friends and allies to reflect and to push Kosovo to join NATO as soon as possible.
Is the political deadlock, you have 3 elections in a year, is one of those reasons that you can't move ahead, or you believe that this is not really working to your benefit?
Well, as Kosovo, we continue to advance in a field of security training and strategic objectives with the NATO alliance. So Kosovo applies NATO standards, doctrines, and the same commitments. So we do consider that we have been working and doing everything in our capacity to see ourselves as soon as possible as part of the organizations.
The relationship with Serbia is tension, basically, tense. And you have Serbian diaspora or in Kosovo. What effort can you tell us that the government of Kosovo is doing to basically reduce that tension? Because that could be one of the deadlocks or the roadblocks in the way. If you can tell us about, again, the efforts of the government to reduce that tension and to move ahead.
As Kosovo, we are doing everything in our power, to reduce the tensions and to have a serious dialogue with Serbia. Republic of Kosovo remains firmly committed to ensuring that the Serbian community in Kosovo is fully protected, represented, and integrated within the country's constitutional international framework. But it's Serbian leadership from Belgrade that interferes, that puts the hands in the northern of Kosovo and tries to keep that part of Kosovo as non-stable zone, and using the Serbs community, which are Kosovo citizens, but trying to make as a unstable zone. So this is.
If you'd be kind just to name one single measure that you think will be helpful to improve those relationships, so you can move forward. I ask if you can name one single effort that you believe is the effort that's really going to make that difference, and so you can move forward.
Just a brief response, please, because we're over time.
Kosovo government is very much committed to rule of law in northern of Kosovo. Equal opportunity are essential pillars of the stable and democratic society. So we remain committed to constructive engagement with all communities in cooperation with international partners to keep and to have a calm environment in the northern of Kosovo.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next, we go to MP Monafotia. You have 4 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for being here today and being part of this conversation. As we've been saying, Canada has been a long-standing supporter of Kosovo, and I want to talk about moving forward. How do you think our bilateral cooperation between both Kosovo and Canada have the greatest potential for growth in the coming years, in your perspective?
I think, having seen also the Prime Minister Carney as a Prime Minister that engaged very much and pushed further the economic and trade collaboration, Kosovo has opened the door for Canada's for collaboration in mining sectors. There are Canadian companies that are interested to invest in Kosovo and to explore for the mining and minerals in Kosovo. For in the past 5 years, Kosovo has been participating in PIDAC every year, and we do engage with provincial and federal government, and we try to open a new chapter in economic and trade collaboration. And in addition to defense and security, as we have succeeded so far, now I think is the time for Kosovo and Canada to see what we can do in regards to economic and trade collaboration. Kosovo and Canada has signed the FIPA agreement, Foreign Investment Protection Agreement. We are in a process to sign the still in a process of negotiation for the second agreement for elimination of double taxation, as well as we are in a process to sign the MOU, an agreement between Chamber of Commerce of Kosovo and Ontario. So the infrastructure law already exists for Kosovo and Canada to do business and to invest, in respective countries. And it's in a matter of politics now to see whether they wanna take concrete steps and to see what we can do in this regard.
And you mentioned earlier about the Kosovar diaspora. Can you talk a bit more about how the Kosovar diaspora in Canada play a role in strengthening economic ties or cultural ties, for example? I know you mentioned a piece earlier, but maybe you have more to share with us.
Kosovo has a small diaspora here, but I would like to say that it's a very vibrant diaspora. It's a diaspora which is quite integrated in Canadian society, and they have been playing an important role in strengthening relation between Kosovo and Canada. So it's a bridge, very strong bridge between Kosovo and Canada. They have been contributing and working with dedication and contributing in the Canadian economy, and also lots of people from our diaspora here have been investing recently in Kosovo and also encouraging other businesses from Kosovo to come and invest in Canada. This is more or less what they have been doing in terms of strengthening the relation between our two countries.
If you have one more wish to share, because you have another 30 seconds left, what would it be in the relationship?
I would love to see much stronger relation between Kosovo and Canada. It's been 6 years and a half for me being here, and I would love to see after me, nothing yet officially, but I might leave Canada. I might leave Canada in a couple of months or a year, but to see a much stronger ambassador that comes here and keep it work and make Kosovo and Canada much closer to one another. So this is my wish. I want to see between our two countries and our people. So,
thank you very much. We go next to Monsieur Duceppe, 2.5 minutes, please.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. Il y a eu quelques...
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There was a few issues that were mentioned by NGOs, corruption inside of public institutions in Kosovo. Nevertheless, there's a new generation of politicians that really want to look at this issue and deal with it. Would the present Kosovo government be setting up measures in order to deal with this issue that was mentioned by the NGO? And of course, I'm not attacking anybody, of course, we're just here to be honest. So I just want to know if the present government is trying to deal with this issue of corruption in some public institutions in Kosovo.
I really don't know for which...
J'avais le rapport du Freedom House.
I was reading from the Freedom House report. The latest Freedom House report. Are you aware of it? They had said that there were certain public institutions in Kosovo that were undermined by profound corruption. But what the report was saying was that a new generation of politicians really want to tackle this issue with administrative and judicial reforms. So for the committee, would you be able to tell us what this new generation of politicians are doing in order to be able to counter this issue?
Well, honestly, I don't know. I haven't seen that report, and I'm not in a position to provide any information that I'm not aware of.
OK, il n'y a pas de souci. On vous fera parvenir,
we would be able to send you a copy of the report. But I did think it was positive because it did say that Kosovo is dealing with these issues. I can talk to you about the Charbonneau Commission in Quebec, for instance, who also has been dealing with certain issues of the same kind. So I just wanted to know about the measures that were set up in order to be able to clean up institutions. Otherwise, I will go with a very simple another question. What are the economic sectors where Canada and Kosovo could work on together, and what are the most obvious links where we could work together?
As I mentioned, it's mining and minerals. This is the sector that Canada and Kosovo can work very closely in the near future. So, and as I said, the infrastructure law it already exists between our two countries, and the Canadian companies are most welcome to come and invest Kosovo and to consider Kosovo as a hub for the region. So our Prime Minister have been very open with Canadians, and he really wants to see more steps and more concrete engagement with Canada. And we targeted mining and mineral sector. That this is the key sector that Kosovo and Canada might bring one another closer. So this is for now.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Excellency Ambassador Adriatic, for appearing in front of the committee and answering our questions. We appreciate it, and we know you're one of the longest-serving ambassadors in Canada, 6 years, and there's no sign of them wanting you back. You must be doing a really good job. So I will now briefly suspend for the next hour, but once again, thank you on behalf of the committee. Brief suspension. meeting to order. For the second hour of today's meeting, I'm pleased to welcome our witnesses who are joining us by video conference. First, we have Dr. Mohammed Brajshori, lecturer at Heimamer College and former Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs of Kosovo. We also have Dr. Gezim Visoka, Associate Professor of Peace and Conflict Studies, Dublin City University. And we also have Jos Boonstra, Senior Researcher, Center for European Security Studies. Up to 5 minutes will be given for opening remarks, after which we will proceed with rounds of questions. So I now invite Dr. Brajshori to make an opening statement of no more than 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, honorable members of the committee. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you for the opportunity to contribute to your study on the security situation in the Western Balkans, a region in which Canada has played an important role in supporting the transition from conflict to peace. While significant progress has been achieved, the region continues to face challenges that could undermine these gains. Personally, Canada is a special place to me. During the war of 1999, when Serbian forces drove hundreds of thousands of civilians from their homes, my own family was among those separated by violence and ethnic cleansing. Our grandparents got separated from us, but they found refuge in Canada, became Canadian citizens, and lived the rest of their lives in dignity and peace in Canada. And we are thankful to the Canadian people for that. My principal assessment is straightforward. The Western Balkans remains one of the most vulnerable geopolitical spaces in Europe, where unresolved bilateral disputes, external authoritarian influence, and incomplete Euro-Atlantic integration continue to intersect. The region should therefore not be viewed as a post-conflict legacy issue, but as an active component of European and transatlantic security. Three developments deserve particular attention. First, the post-Cold War political settlement in the Balkans remains challenged. Serbia continues to reject Kosovo's independence, maintains close strategic relations with Russia and China, and seeks to preserve political influence across the region in the neighboring countries. Second, geopolitical competition is intensifying. Russia continues to exploit unresolved bilateral disputes and institutional vulnerabilities in the region, using regional tensions to challenge Western cohesion and create strategic uncertainty. And third, the credibility of Euro-Atlantic integration process itself is increasingly being tested. When democratic reforms do not produce visible strategic outcomes, support for those reforms weakens and nationalist alternatives become more attractive. Kosovo illustrates many of these challenges. Since declaring independence in 2008, it has built democratic institutions aligned consistently with the European Union and NATO and demonstrated a clear Western orientation. Yet it remains only partially integrated into the international system, excluded from the United Nations by Russia's veto, and facing additional obstacles because of 5 EU and 4 NATO members have not recognized its independence. Reducing geopolitical gray zones in the Western Balkans requires a structured pathway towards Kosovo's membership in NATO. The Banska attack in September 2023, carried out by a heavily armed criminal group under the control of the security structures of Serbia, demonstrated that the unfinished normalization process between Kosovo and Serbia continues to pose security risk and highlighted the importance of credible deterrence and renewed political engagement in the dialogue process. The border region offers another important lesson. Countries that undertake difficult democratic reforms must see tangible progress towards Euro-Atlantic integration. Otherwise, public confidence erodes, nationalist forces gain strength, and the credibility of the Western project itself is weakened. The future of European integration of countries such as Albania and Montenegro therefore has significance beyond their borders. It will shape the strategic direction of the entire region in the years and decades to come. From a Canadian perspective, the Western Balkans should be approached through a broader framework of transatlantic security. Instability in the region has implications for NATO, cohesion, European security, migration management, energy resilience, and the credibility of a rules-based international order. In this context, I would respectfully offer 3 policy recommendations. First, Canada should actively support Kosovo's membership in NATO and encourage further international recognition of Kosovo among partners with which Canada maintains close relationships in the European Union, NATO, and the Commonwealth. Second, Canada should establish a regular Canada-Western Balkans summit that brings together governments, parliamentarians, business leaders, and civil society to ensure long-term Canadian engagement within the region. Third, Canada should expand its economic footprint by encouraging greater involvement of its private sector in defense, energy, and critical minerals. This will provide credible alternatives to authoritarian influence while creating new opportunities for Canadian businesses in a strategically important market. Mr. Chair, the central strategic challenge in the Western Balkans is not the presence of conflict, but the persistence of uncertainty. History has shown that a geopolitical vacuum invites external interference, while credible pathways towards Euro-Atlantic integration strengthen democratic resilience and long-term stability. Canada has played an important role in the Western Balkans over the past 3 decades. It possesses both a credibility and a strategic interest to continue contributing to the stability of a region that remains essential for the future security architecture of Europe. Thank you very much.
Statement. We will go next to Dr. Visoka.
Mr. Chair, honorable members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today. My name is Gizim Visoka, and I'm an associate professor of peace and conflict studies at Dublin City University in Ireland. My research focuses on post-conflict peace building, the dynamics of diplomatic recognition, and the rise of counter-peace forces in the Balkans. For 3 decades, peace in the Western Balkans has hinged on the stability and values of the Euro-Atlantic Alliance. Today, however, shifting US foreign policy priorities and internal hesitation within the EU are directly undermining that security. So today I want to highlight 3 interlinked trends that are affecting security in the Western Balkans. First, as we witness democratic backsliding and authoritization and a global decline in the liberal international order, the Balkan countries are mirroring these trends. Serbia is no longer classified as democracy, but as an electoral autocracy experiencing protracted social instability. Other Balkan countries remain only partially free, affected by political instability, corruption, and in some places restricted media freedom. As democracy promotion fades away from the spotlight of Western foreign policy, regional leaders are actively backtracking on critical reforms. Second, a shift towards transactional diplomacy promoted by the Trump administration has revived dangerous revisionist tendencies and heightened ethnic tensions, undermining the international peace building and state building investments of the past 3 decades. We've seen armed and sabotage attacks by Serb groups in the north of Kosovo, coupled with aggressive disinformation campaigns designed to inflame ethnic frictions in Bosnia and Herzegovina, for example, ethnic polarization in North Macedonia and Montenegro. Furthermore, US pressure on NATO and threats to withdraw security support from Europe have triggered competitive militarization politics and policies in the Western Balkans. These cracks directly benefit Russia's grand strategy, which relies on disinformation, collaboration with anti-peace actors, and exploitation of frozen conflicts to weaken European and Euro-Atlantic security. Third, however, security threats in the Western Balkans do not solely come from hostile external forces such as Russia. EU and NATO membership remain the primary strategic goals for the region, but enlargement has largely stalled due to EU's lack of political will to integrate the Western Balkans. Only recently has the EU signaled a renewed interest in expediting accession procedures, particularly for Montenegro and Albania, driven by the geopolitical imperative to offer membership prospects to Ukraine and Moldova to deter Russian aggression. A critical weakness remains within the EU itself. Kosovo remains unrecognized by 5 EU member states, Cyprus, Greece, Romania, Slovakia, and Spain, 4 of which are NATO members, who have so far blocked Kosovo's EU and NATO membership path and indirectly contributed to the stalled normalization of relations with Serbia. Their recognition of Kosovo and their willingness to unblock its Euro-Atlantic path would ultimately make Europe safer and more prosperous. honorable members of the committee. Canada has a proud history of supporting peace operations and the rules-based international order in the Western Balkans. At this critical time, I believe Canada is uniquely positioned to provide principled leadership to the Euro-Atlantic strategy for the Balkans. We cannot allow transactional politics to undo 3 decades of peace building. Canada can and should play a pivotal role in rallying NATO and EU allies towards a unified, decisive stance on democracy and regional integration, the preservation of peace and the statehood of Bosnia and Herzegovina, and the recognition of Kosovo's independence and its rightful membership of international organizations. Thank you, and I welcome your questions.
Thank you very much. We next Boonstra to make an opening statement.
Dear Chair, dear members, thank you for this opportunity to share with you my take on the security situation in the Balkans. I work for the Center for European Security Studies in the Netherlands. We are an NGO that was established in 1993 that is aimed to assist in initially Central and East European countries with their democratic transition in the field of defense and security governance, a work that is ongoing today. Our focus in the Western Balkans has been to build capacity and foster cooperation in the security sector among oversight actors, foremost parliaments in the Balkans, but also audit and ombudsman institutions and civil society. By way of introduction, I would like to raise 3 points, moving from broad to detailed. First, the European Union and the Balkans. Last Friday, the EU and Western Balkan leaders met in Montenegro to discuss enlargement, a process that has been stuck since Croatia joined in 2013. EU and Balkan leaders seem to accept a status quo. The EU member states value stability in the Balkans and are adverse to explaining to their constituencies why North Macedonia or Serbia should become an EU member. At the same time, Balkan leaders value a grip on power and want to keep managing their clientelist networks. However, the Western Balkan population at large remain without benefits. Young people leave to seek work elsewhere, most often in the European Union. The summit produced 2 results. First, people in the Western Balkans and the EU will stop paying extra roaming costs over calls and data when visiting each other, a tangible result for all those families with children living abroad. Second, and maybe more something in the long term, Germany and France presented a non-paper that opens a debate among EU member states to revise the current enlargement policy into a staged process where associate members reap benefits and gain influence at an earlier stage. Such a process is long overdue, as enlargement is not solely a beneficiary-recipient relation anymore. EU member states will need to think strategically. The EU needs the Western Balkans and vice versa. My second point relates directly to security in the Balkans. The EU, together with Canada, should think how to include the Western Balkans in new security cooperation initiatives next to or as part of EU and NATO. One proposal here is, for instance, the security and defense partnership that the EU and Canada concluded 1 year ago. What impact will increased defense spending and militarization in the EU have on the Western Balkans? How can the region be an asset instead of a burden? These questions should, in my view, dominate the security agenda with the Western Balkans. Also considering the broader region that includes Bulgaria and Romania with the Black Sea, as well as Croatia and Greece with the Mediterranean. Meanwhile, Kosovo and Bosnia-Herzegovina remain the focal points of potential instability. Both countries had their share of incursions and incidents in recent years. In traveling to these countries, I ask civil society representatives if they see an imminent threat of an incident turning into a broader crisis. The responses go both ways. Violence could easily erupt is one answer. Another is the vivid memory of war averts a new one. Both views hold truth. And for this reason, an international presence in Kosovo and Bosnia remains imperative. And lastly, concluding on a positive note regarding Bosnia-Herzegovina. SES has been working in Bosnia-Herzegovina over the last few years, together with NGOs from Sarajevo and from Banja Luka. We work with members of parliament, with civil servants, civil society actors, and students. Most are keen to travel between the Federation of Bosnia-Herzegovina and the Republika Srpska, exchange experiences, and build networks of cooperation. For too long, international donors have regarded Bosnia and Herzegovina as a place not worth investing in due to its problematic governance system and lack of political will. Nonetheless, bringing people together, especially youth, does create security and progress. Thank you for your attention. I look forward to your questions.
We go next to questions from members, beginning with Ziad Abul Taif. You have 6 minutes.
Well, thank you, Chair, and thanks to the witnesses for appearing today before committee. We know that the ambition of Kosovo to enter EU and NATO is probably top mind and top policy when it comes to the government and the people of Kosovo. I would like to start with one question and ask each one of you to answer, and I'll give you the order of answering. The question: what is the roadblock in Kosovo's way to fulfill those ambitions? And I'll start with Dr. Brajori, then Dr. Visoka, then Mr. Bonestra.
Thank you, Honorable. I will raise 3 issues that are in the roadblock towards Kosovo's membership to EU. Number 1, the most crucial, is the non-recognition by 5 EU member states: Greece, Spain, Slovakia, Cyprus, and Romania. These ones are still blocking Kosovo politically from moving forward in the European integration process. Kosovo has applied since more than 2 years to gain the candidate status and trying to open it after that the accession talks. It's still being kept unaddressed by the European Union. Kosovo is the only country inside Europe that has applied for membership in European Union and is not getting a response by the EU. In the past, we had Morocco, Tunisia applying, and the requests were not addressed. And Kosovo is making quite a history in this regard because of political issues and divisions inside EU, still nearly 20 years since Kosovo declared independence. I want to be very direct and undiplomatic. By not recognizing Kosovo, these 5 member states of the European Union, they're not aligning themselves with Euro-Atlantic other states like Canada, US, and other EU member states that have recognized Kosovo. They're keeping their position in line with Russia and China that still don't recognize Kosovo, and it doesn't help EU to show leadership, to show a unified standing in the Western Balkans. Number 2, I will be very brief on this, is the dialogue between Kosovo and Serbia. Kosovo remains a hostage of Serbia's unwillingness to become committed to a dialogue process which would benefit the end itself. And if we will be able, in a period, to address these 2 key issues, we will be able then to give Kosovo a chance to show itself that it can fulfill or not the criteria that it deserves to move on to towards European Union membership. Without having a proper process, I mean, Kosovo is not able to show itself if it's ready or not to become a member of EU because it's not giving that ability to play that part. Thank you.
And I need to move to the other 2 witnesses briefly, please, because I do have another question to all of you.
Thank you. I'll proceed. Just to build on what Dr. Brashori noted, I think the main roadblock is that sort of, lack of vision. In particular, EU lacks a unified position on Kosovo, and it has to make up its mind. Does it consider Kosovo as an independent and sovereign state, or still a protectorate or a territory that is contested. And second matter that I think is contested here is this sort of deep-rooted division within EU and NATO when it comes to Kosovo's NATO's intervention. And I think that sort of vision of what international order should have preceded after the Cold War has still sort of pertained and continues to resemble and manifest on Kosovo. So I think the main roadblock is lack of unified position on Kosovo in the side of EU, and certainly this is the five member states of the EU that don't recognize Kosovo. They're not a unified bloc. They have their own historical different reasons, and these reasons are not justifiable. Some of them are process-oriented, some of them are procedural, and some of them are just sort of legacy issues that because they did not change their view like Canada and others did to recognize Kosovo immediately, they are stuck in that sort of stubborn position, and now there's a path dependence on that position, which as the time passes, it gets more difficult and worsened.
Yes, I will try to further build on these two good answers. Indeed, it's very problematic that the country which citizens pay with euros need visas to travel to the European Union. But besides the problems in the European Union and NATO member states, there's also still problems in Kosovo itself. Kosovo had a good start in 2008 when it became independent by being able to build brand new institutions that did not have all this heritage that neighboring countries were carrying. But still, politics in Kosovo is lacking any political will to move forward, and there is still this problem with corruption and clientelism that is a large blockage in making progress in democratic reform.
Is one of the issues that you probably did not mention in full. Can you comment on that, Dr. or Mr. Boonstra, quickly?
Very brief response, please.
The political deadlock has been going on for years now, but there is good hope that things will change now after the latest elections and after the recent EU summit. I think there will be more pressure exerted on Kosovo, and there will be a bigger understanding that this country needs to come to terms politically. So I have hope, but it's nothing more than hope, I'm afraid.
We have MP Anita van der Velde. You have 6 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank you to our witnesses for being here. Each of you, I'd just like to touch my first question, mentioned in some way this connection between security and stability and democratic resilience. And I noticed, Mr. Braishori, you talked about the persistence of uncertainty as one of the things that opens up the foreign interference. And I did notice, Dr. Vysoka, that you talked about the democracy promotion fading away for Western leaders, which I think was a very powerful statement. And I know that, Dr. Boonstra, you do a lot of capacity building. You mentioned also with Parliament. So if each of you could perhaps, and we'll start with Dr. Braishori, talk about why it's important for countries like Canada to continue to support even the technical assistance and democratic resilience in places like the Balkans in order to facilitate security interests. Dr. Braishori first.
I will try to be very brief. The Western Balkans are part of a transatlantic area, and they should not remain a gray zone in this part of the world. It's very important that countries like Canada, with a rich tradition of democracy and democratic controlled armed forces, get involved in reforming the security structures in the region, supporting them. And as I mentioned in my brief statement, that I think also defense is a very crucial sector where Canadian private sector and armed forces and government can get involved in assisting the countries, especially Kosovo, North Macedonia, Albania, and Montenegro, countries where Canada can play a crucial role to support them to achieve the reforms they need to get aligned with NATO standards. So in this regard, having Canadian presence in this part of the world is very important, and it will help these countries to achieve the benchmarks. Some of them, most of them are part of NATO. Case of like Kosovo, which is not still part of NATO, it will help Kosovo at least to achieve the standards whenever the political conditions are created to become a member of NATO without any hurdle.
Dr. Vishoka?
Yes. With regard to democratic resilience and also the fading sort of, democratization agenda in the US and other places. So my view is that Kosovo for a long time was governed and administered by the international community, and it did not really have a chance to demonstrate democratic resilience. Only now, perhaps in the last 5-6 years, it has operated without micro interference on all aspects of governance. And in that regard, I think it's doing well. It is holding regular elections, perhaps too many, but certainly all of them are assessed by the European monitors as democratic, fair, and inclusive, including the one that happened this weekend. So I think Kosovo is a really good example in demonstrating that capacity, even under the condition that at the moment the US has removed the democracy promotion, rule of law, anti-corruption sort of measures from their foreign policy priorities. Kosovo is realigning its sort of attention to European Union and other transatlantic sort of partners and collaborations. So in that sense, short-term effects are not negative, but my fear is that as the US and perhaps and hopefully not in the EU, we don't see an authoritarian turn. Sort of for as long as EU and Canada and other transatlantic allies remain within the remit of liberal international order, Kosovo could sort of retain its democratic character. But my fear long term is that if there is an authoritarian turn, which is overall in the world, that will be a big challenge for Kosovo because it's a small state and it will have to align with allies. And if those allies no longer promote democracy and democratic values, it will be a challenge to sort of adopt and survive in that new order.
Mr. Boonstra?
Yeah, I think that Canada can really offer an alternative, a fresh perspective on democracy that is in line with what the EU presents, but slightly different. And I think that would be extremely welcome in the Balkans to hear from others, not always from Berlin, London, or sorry, not London, Berlin, Paris, or The Hague, or Madrid. So I think that is very important. It would be important to find a niche, and one niche would, for instance, be the legislature. I think a hearing like this is exemplary for countries in the Balkans. Parliaments have no experience in holding hearings like this. So issues like budget oversight, research capacity in Parliament, post-legislative scrutiny, these are all topics that Canada has a lot of experience with in the Parliament and would be very beneficial in the field of security to transfer also to Southeast European countries.
Thank you. I only have a few seconds left. I would just ask each of you in a couple of words, how serious is the risk in the region for broader conflict? How much should we take this seriously?
Very brief responses, please, because we're almost over time.
It is serious as long as we see Western allies giving up from the idea that Western Balkans should become part of a Western project.
My main concern is Trump administration and their betrayal of fundamental democratic values and principles that they promoted for decades in the Balkans. And I think this is providing openings to nationalists and to counter-peace actors to revive their old historical revisionist projects.
We easily ignore the Balkans as a security risk, and that makes it a security risk. So we need to be very careful, I think.
Next, we go to Monsieur Duceppe. You have 6 minutes.
Oui, merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. Merci aux témoins d'être ici.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to the witnesses for being here for this important study,
Brachori,
which is unfortunately reaching its end.
vous
Mr. Rajori, you have very solid expertise in international affairs.
si, malgré toutes les interventions,
I would like to know if, despite every international intervention since the 1990s, there have been many in the Balkans. Why, according to you,
stable aujourd'hui, malgré toutes ces interventions-là,
are the Balkans still so unstable nowadays, despite all these interventions from the international?
I didn't hear some parts of the translation. Can it get repeated, please?
est-ce que là, vous avez est-ce que vous avez l'interprétation?
Do you have interpretation now? Do you hear me in English?
La question était la suivante, malgré toutes
My question was as follows.
les années 90 dans la région,
Why, despite all international interventions in the Balkans since the 1990s, is the region still unstable? Why do you think that despite all these international interventions, the region remains unstable?
Okay, I got it. I will give 3 short responses to your question. Number one, because the international community came to the region, brought a new idea that this region should be part of a larger integrated Europe. And in the middle of the road, it gave up slowly from that idea, focused on other challenges, including Ukraine, Crimea 2014, and Arab Spring, and many other challenges Europe faced, also migration crisis some years ago. Number two, because we saw in some parts of Europe a decline in democratic progress, and that decline has affected also the ability of the countries to fulfill the benchmarks to succeed in European integration. And number three is the uncertainty that both the Western allies and the actors in the region had enabled third actors such as Russia, China, Arab countries, etc., to get involved and exploit also the corrupt nature that also exists in many other countries to get a stronger footprint and ensure that their values and their way of how they act can sustain in the Balkans. So it's a mixture of different reasons, but despite the challenges, the Western Balkans of today is much, much different than it used to be 25 and 30 years ago. We have made progress, but that progress is still not enough to make the region sustainably peaceful and fully integrated in a larger integrated Europe.
Est-ce que les deux autres témoins partagent
Do the other two witnesses share Mr. Brashuri's opinion, or do they want to add something to his response to my question?
Yeah, I can quickly add. I suppose I see two reasons that go back to the way how the conflicts ended. I think the way how sort of peace settlements were sort of created and perhaps imposed favored a particular political elite that got into power, captured power, and retained in power for a long time. And I think there was some constitution between the form of intervention that was taking place and the interests of local elites. So there was an interest for stability in the EU and the Western sort of part, and these local strongmen were able to provide that. So for a long time, that there was that sort of trade-off of democracy and emancipatory and progressive voices in favor of more conservative nationalist forces who provided stability and reliability when it came to implementing international missions. And then this then led to a path dependence whereby sort of codependency created as a result of interventions sort of created these special ties that linked both sort of the need for international intervention and presence and investment and than with disobedience and peace-breaking dynamics of local elites. So there's something kind of inherent with when it comes to international interventions or state building and peace building that are kind of reproducing instability.
En fait, ce que vous nous dites, c'est qu'il y a certaines politiques venant de...
So what you're saying is that some policies of Western countries favored stability, authoritarian stability, at the expense of democratic reforms which should have taken place. And the reason why we're in this situation today, it's because of these decisions made in the past, which aim to foster stability, but which unfortunately have led to authoritarian backsliding instead of democratic reforms. That's what you're saying, essentially?
Except for the conclusion or the outcome of your statement. I agree with the premise that you raised. When it comes to the sort of authoritarian turn at the moment, I think it is as a result of lack of vision and prosperity for integration into the EU that is creating these backsliding dynamics in the Balkans. So,
MP Abu Taif, you have 4 minutes.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks again. The efforts by the government in Kosovo toward the Serbs, do you believe that the government is doing enough? And what can be done to improve that relationship, to reduce the tension? Because I do believe that one of the reasons that the democratic or the political deadlock is taking place just maybe related to this area, and there's no secret I'm telling here. But then it's nice to understand if there's enough efforts, knowing that if this is the problem, I mean, we may have the solution. And if Canada also can help in that, I think will be a great deal. So I'd like you to, Mr. Visoka, or Dr. Visoka, to comment on that if possible.
Thank you. Yes, I think Kosovo government is undertaking a wide range of measures to respect the minority rights. Obviously, Kosovo has an advanced framework for minority protection. However, there is a reluctance on both sides when it comes to sort of full implementation and advancements of perhaps political, territorial ambitions that minorities, especially Serb minority, have in Kosovo. So this goes also back to the power-sharing nature of Kosovo's political system, where local Serbs have reserved seats in the parliament, in local government, and language rights. But for a long period of time, they did not avail of those pending a political agreement between Kosovo and Serbia. So in a way, dialogue between Kosovo and Serbia under the EU's facilitation hijacked the integration of Serbs via or within the framework of Ahtisaari constitution, and kind of created a suspension of that sort of interethnic integration, waiting for large issues to be resolved first. Questions of recognition, question of sort of political rights, and perhaps larger autonomy for Serbs, and other sort of questions with regard to the religious Orthodox sites and other protections. So these two processes are not congruent. One is canceling the other, and in particular, there is, for example, evidence that civil society interethnic organizations don't cooperate as they did before the dialogue in Brussels took place. So it has hijacked that local peace building potential. It has displaced sort of the attention to from resolving everyday problems of the people on the ground to having these technocratic conversations. And
what Canada can do. We have a great model in Canada. That's why we're able to keep Quebec and other provinces within the fold. And we're proud of that for 100.
Yeah, the fear is that if you proceed with sort of territorial autonomy, that is the next stage to secession. I know in Canada it's different, but in the Balkans, that is the pathway. That is the fear. And that's why there is that struggle in Republika Srpska and also north of Kosovo. The fear that that is just a stage towards redrawing of borders.
That's why I'm saying reach to Canada, because I think we have a great model. And in the meantime, I'm fully aware of the sensitivity of the region. The Balkans is always known for the diversity and the historic tensions, and of course, is sitting among many players regionally and internationally. So that's why we are concerned, and we would like to help in any which way we can. I think Canada can play a role. Thank you.
Thank you very much, MP Abul Taif. We go next to MP Clark. You have 4 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank you to our witnesses for your expertise today. Mr. Boonstra, I'll start with you because you mentioned this in your opening comments, and this is the only question I'll ask here, I believe. But you talked about the proposal that Germany and France put forward in the last few days, coming out of the summit in Montenegro. There, I'm just wondering, what's your assessment of that? Do you see it as a path that might make it easier to get into the EU membership, which we know in many of these countries this has been a decade-long plus process, and obviously we're not there yet. So just your quick assessment on that proposal.
I think these proposals have been going around for several years now, mostly promoted by different think tanks in Europe. Staged accession, different forms of accession, and I think these are good ideas, because I think for the Western Balkans it would be useful to take the membership question a little bit off the table. It should be there, but it should not immediately be an end goal. There should certainly be integration on different levels, and not only working towards this end goal. But the problem with this is that other countries like Ukraine at the moment see this, of course, very different, and immediately want to move forward on direct integration and membership. So it is a process that needs to be discussed, but it will certainly have value, I think, for the Balkans, as they will see immediate economic benefits for the population. And it will also be beneficial, I think, for EU member states. So yes, I see merit in this.
Thank you. Mr. Vasoka, your thoughts?
Yes, I just completed actually an event last week in Dublin where I brought civil society from the Western Balkans discussing all these proposals, and also sort of Dublin is the epicenter because it's taking the presidency of the EU for the second half of the year, and certainly there is a welcome reaction to the non-paper. I think it's a very smart, pragmatic. So this is not putting Western Balkans in the sort of a reserve room or second-tier membership, but it is offering a gradual integration, phased integration that it will expedite and perhaps encourage democratic reforms, retain democratic orientation, and sort of push back against some of these authoritarian tendencies. So certainly, it's a welcome development, and in particular, Montenegro sort of experience will set the pace of how the other countries will proceed. They're currently drafting the accession treaty, which will define sort of the perhaps any reservation when it comes to the veto rights and how Montenegrin sort of accession will look like. That could be a model for Albania and the rest. So certainly, it's a welcome development. And there have been some concerns raised. For example, in North Macedonia, if they're falling behind, will they sort of experience a return to ethnic tensions or discouragement of reforms? But overall, it's a positive outlook and reception.
Thank you. And Mr. Barjoi, the last 20 seconds, if you could take us home. Thank you.
It can bring positive change to the region if it's implemented fully. We just have to keep in mind we have elections in France next year, and that will influence the future of this idea. So it's positive, but we have to judge it by the actions more than the words.
Thank you very much, Mr. Clark. Thank you to the witnesses. I know that you're all joining us from Europe, and it's pretty late there, so we really appreciate your patience and making time for us. And thank you for your testimony and your ability to answer all our questions. Merci beaucoup. I now proceed to committee business very quickly in the short time that we have. As mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, There are a number of committee business matters that require our attention. On Tuesday, June 16th, the Minister of Foreign Affairs is available to appear for 1 hour in relation to the main estimates. Would the committee like to use that opportunity to examine both the main estimates and the supplementary estimates A, as some have suggested? I would require explicit direction from the committee on this matter. Is that agreeable, that the Minister would answer both? Okay. For SDIR, I'd like to note that the clerk circulated earlier today draft budgets and a draft report from the subcommittee. The budgets are the following: briefing on the situation of the Tibetan children in schools, administered by the People's Republic of China, $8,600. Briefing on human rights in the Caribbean region, $10,650. Does the committee adopt these budgets? Yes? In addition, SDIR has adopted a draft report entitled The Current Situation of Democracy and Human Rights Defenders Around the World. The committee is now being asked to adopt the standard motions related to the report. Number one, that the draft report be adopted. Yes? Number two, that the report be entitled Standing with Democracy and Human Rights Defenders, Strengthening Support at a Crucial Time. Agreed? Yeah? That the chair... Sorry? It's a SDIR. Oh, sorry, yes. Yes, I thought I did that. Okay, so the witnesses are excused. Once again, thank you very much for your patience with us. Thank you. Number three, that the chair, clerk, and analysts be authorized to make such grammatical and editorial changes as may be necessary without changing the substance of the report. Number four, that pursuant to Standing Order 109, the committee requests that the government table a comprehensive response to this report and that the chair present the report to the House. All agreed? Yeah. Our next meeting will be on Thursday with clause-by-clause consideration of Bill C-219, and I know you're all eager in anticipation for that. And with that, I adjourn the meeting.
Good job.